I'm Mary Polchaninoff, and welcome to Sure Things. Today we're back in my dear friend Sandy's kitchen, because she has a lovely kitchen, along with Tanya Porcelli, who we've also had on the show. Tanya's here to again introduce us to the world of wines, and this show we're going to focus on the sparkling type wines and pair it with some food. Welcome back, Tanya.
Thank you so much for having me back. I love this show. This is a lot of fun. I love living on the Connecticut coast, and I feel like we exemplify, what life can be like. So thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad. This is. I just feel like it's a really great time of year too, with the summer, spring, and everyone gathering again and getting together and making even just gatherings more celebratory.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're going to start off with champagne, because champagne is basically where the story of sparkling wine kind of begins. Mm-hmm. It was made very fashionable in Louis the XIV's court out in France back in the 1760s. And a couple of things had to happen to make champagne a reality. And one of them was glass bottles. So before, people would just have their wine in barrels, and they would transport their barrels from one place to the next. And that's how we discovered oak aging wine was really delicious. It's because sometimes wine would take over a year to get from one location to the next.
Wow.
Once it got there, they realized that it was more delicious than when they had first found it.
And that's how that. So you couldn't have champagne before the glass bottles, because it couldn't ferment in that and do its thing. Plus, am I correct that champagne has to come from a certain region?
It has to come from a certain region in France, the Champagne region in France, and it is a unique spot that has a lot of chalk and limestone, and those two things are great for making really bright, sparkling wines. They have a lot of great acidity to them, and so that makes it very refreshing and delicious.
Have you been there?
I have not yet.
Okay, because I know you travel. I know you travel.
I do.
Yes.
I do. The closest place I've been is Piedmont, which is in northern Italy. So different country, but northern part of the country. So we can say maybe kind of close.
Yeah. So we're going to start with that. So
we're going to start with champagne. So champagne, the second fermentation happens in the bottle. Yeah. So originally, people thought that it was a flaw, and then realized that the wine was actually still delicious and that it was just an added pizzazz. So remember how I was saying in the king's court, a lot of people would drink champagne and they were all trying to be a little extra. So they loved the popping of the corks. They loved pouring it from high levels so that the stars would fall into your glass.
Some people do it with a sword.
They do it with a sword, sabrage. It's really, so have fun with champagne, have fun with sparkling wine, and it's the best way to celebrate.
It is. So do you find people will get a champagne even if it isn't like a wedding? I mean,
usually not as often,
right.
But I wish they would, because it's really a great time. Every day that ends with Y is a great day to have a bubbly,
Yeah, I can kind of go along with that.
Yeah. So I wanted to show you how to open a bottle of champagne, because the cork is under a lot of pressure to keep the bubbles intact. And so nowadays you'll find that there's a nice little helper right there, so you can open it up nice and cleanly. And there's a cage right down here. And just to be really safe, what you do is you keep your hand on top of the cage with a little bit of pressure so it doesn't slip off, because it's never happened to me, but it happened to a colleague of mine. We were in a restaurant and the cork just flew out and it stuck in the ceiling.
What is starting with?
What a memory, right?
I know, right?
Way to make it a memory.
Experiences, right.
So you can shake it up if you'd like, and then if you do that, it'll be very, very messy. So I don't suggest doing that.
No,
And then I'm also doing it very, very gently. So it's just a tiny. So
I get nervous and I put a thing over it.
It's all good.
That's good.
So nowadays we like to be a little bit more discreet in our celebration, and so. Contrary to back in the 18th century, we are not making loud popping sounds, but if you do, that is totally fine.
That's part of your celebration.
Exactly.
Before we start, I just wanted to make note that we do have a selection of different wines and sparkling wines, but it's not a marketing per se. These are just examples of wines that you can get. There's so many different choices.
a myriad of choices. But
Yeah.
what I wanted to do is find things that are not off the beaten track in terms of not being too obscure in their flavor profile. So you can kind of get what the general idea is. So cheers.
Cheers. So unlike wine, where you swirl and look at legs, and
Right.
you don't do any of that.
So
with champagne.
here you're going to just move it around a little bit, and so that you're not agitating the bubbles, but what you're doing is you're getting a little bit of wine on the edges, and so they stay on those edges. If you put your nose in, you can smell the complexity.
Oh yeah.
So, and you see that this is a true champagne. It doesn't have a ton of bubbles because the way that they make this is it takes about 3 years to mature all of its bubbles, and the longer that it stays maturing that way, the finer the bubbles are.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well,
Yeah,
cheers. Okay,
cheers.
Oh, that's very good. Yeah.
Mm,
Nice and light, not too sweet.
not sweet.
There is champagne that is sweeter.
There
Do
is.
they do a variety of that?
They do.
Yeah.
So thank you for asking. That's a
Yeah.
really great question. There's a spectrum. So this is what you call a brut. And a brut means that it's pretty much all the way dry.
Okay.
But what's confusing is that it used to be just to extra dry, and extra dry is a little bit sweet. So Proseccos are extra dries. They're a little bit sweet.
A little sweet.
And then D-O-U-X means that it's actually very sweet.
Oh, and it still could be a champagne.
And it's still going to be a champagne. It's
That's
not as
interesting.
popular anymore
Yeah.
because people have gone towards the more brut. And actually people are taking it a step further to go to zero dosage, which means they don't add any extra sugar when they're making the secondary fermentation. But that's a little austere for my palate.
Sure. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So that starts our journey off on sparkling wines.
Yeah. So I hope that you've enjoyed the champagne.
I did.
Yes.
I've been known to enjoy champagne. Yes, I do.
As well. So almost like Helen, whose face launched 1,000 ships, this champagne launched 1,000 sparkling wines, if you will. So going down history, there was a time when there was this mite called phylloxera that ravaged a lot of vineyards and kind of destroyed them. So what happened then is that there was a renaissance in vineyard management and what they would plant in which regions. And this is when the Spanish came up with cava. So cava is basically made like a champagne. It also has 3 different grape varieties in it.
It's only in Spain.
It's only in Spain.
Okay.
It's only in Spain. And it does age as well in caves. And so cava is the Spanish word for cave. And so if you'd like to see what that's like instead, I would bet that this is pretty similar to a champagne.
So, but again, because it's the only champagne that can be called champagne is from that region
Right.
of France.
Right.
So even though this might be very similar,
It's not a champagne.
it's not a champagne.
It's a cava.
Okay, so we're gonna do these, and then we're gonna look at some foods they go with too.
Absolutely,
Yeah, okay.
absolutely.
So what would the difference be between these two?
Okay, so this, like I said, was under the lees or the yeasts and in bottle fermenting again for about 3 years.
Yeah.
And this only for about 18 months. So half the
Wow.
amount of time here. This can range as well. It can go from 9 months to a lot longer
Okay.
if you decide. But you have to have a minimum amount of time that it ages, right?
To be called cava?
To be called
Yeah,
a cava,
okay.
and it
Right.
has to, follow certain regulatory rules. But for me, it's a great second option to
To
a
champagne.
champagne.
Okay.
Exactly. It won't be as bready and yeasty. It'll be a little fresher.
Okay. Yeah,
Not as complex.
right.
A little bit.
Definitely fresh, and again, and as I said when we started, thinking about gatherings and people coming together for celebrations, that would be very nice at a meal.
Very
when you're
nice.
outside in the back deck and you're having
Yeah.
whatever your burgers or your
Yeah.
more complex meal. Definitely.
Exactly. I mean, if you want to do what grows together goes together, you can do anything tapas related, right? So you can even have your little olives with this if you'd like to make it very regional. The cava will complement it in very interesting ways.
I forgot you said that before too.
Yeah.
What grows together
Goes
together.
together.
That is so interesting. So you should think of that with the wines too.
Absolutely, absolutely. It kind of makes it a little bit more fun too,
Yeah.
you know?
Sure.
So, and then lastly, I was going to say, if price is of any consideration,
Yes. Which it is, yeah.
basically a champagne will retail at the very lowest end, like rock bottom, $35, maybe $40 if you're lucky. And it can range to $5,000.
Sure.
You know.
So 40 is like rock bottom.
Is rock bottom.
Okay.
You know, I found some very good producers in that $60 range, if
Yes.
you will. But I tend to go towards the $60, $70 range as my baseline for champagne, because those producers for me have a lot of great complexity, deliciousness. Cava, on the other hand, you can go as low as $15 a bottle, and then you might not even find a cava for $60 a bottle. So that's the range
That's
there.
the range, right?
You're going like maybe from 15 to maybe 30, but not
Wow.
typically.
Okay.
Yeah. So
That is interesting. I was wondering about the difference with that. Because then we get into sparkling wine and Prosecco, which I'm
Yes.
not really sure the difference between
yes,
the champagne or the cava and a Prosecco. Because there's so much Prosecco now. A lot of people are into Prosecco.
so much prosecco. So I wanted to start off with champagne
Yeah.
because champagne really made the problem of the world. It was so delicious that there just wasn't enough coming out of France, or champagne specifically, to please the whole world. And so this Spanish found an alternative, and then the Italians developed something called Prosecco. And Prosecco was actually named by Pliny the Elder as being a healthy drink that we should all drink. And so,
Well, there you go. Well, you know, it probably made people feel well.
Exactly.
You know, right? It brought people together.
sure.
People were happy.
Yeah.
Okay.
All good things.
I can see that,
All good
sure.
things. There was a gentleman who developed a method called the Charmat method, where they will put the Prosecco into a stainless steel tank and then inject carbon dioxide into it, basically, kind of how they make soda.
Yeah.
And there, you can imagine, it's a lot easier and quicker to make a sparkling wine.
Right. So how old is that then? When you talk about
It's
champagne.
not.
It's not old.
1920s.
Oh, 1920s. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
so we're going
interesting.
1760s-ish, 1880s, 90s-ish, and then 1920s-ish. So,
And the first
forgive me
Prosecco-
for not knowing all those.
No,
specific
that's
dates.
wonderful. But then, so then the first Prosecco came over from Italy.
From Italy.
That was it. Because now
Yeah.
we have it grown all over.
So it's still grown in a region of Italy
Yeah.
called, there you are, give you
That's
the
my-
glass,
thank
there
you,
you are.
thank you.
So it grows in a region of Italy, the town is called Prosecco. And so it comes from...
Where is that in Italy?
It's in,
Prosecco
there's an
Italy?
actual Prosecco Italy, it's in the Veneto. Yeah.
All right.
So you go to
The middle,
Venice,
the middle.
you know, and then
Oh.
you take a little drive up, and
Oh,
then
okay,
there
okay,
you go.
okay,
Up in the hills. So there's a lot of hills that make the growing region perfect
wow.
for Prosecco.
So what would we taste the difference between this?
So this is going to be a little bit sweeter, and then this one for me had a lot of lime and citrus notes to it, and this one has a little bit more appley, pear, and white flowers, almost like springtime. For me, it's spring in a glass.
And how much would that be about?
This one you can go down to $9.99
Yeah.
if you'd like to, but I think that hovering around the $15 to $18 range is really
It's good for
is
Prosecco.
wise. And but then again, I've had some that are in the $25 range that are outstanding a little bit more like a champagne.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. So
Yeah.
there's a range of food.
So you see the bubbles there?
Yes.
How there's a million of them?
Yes.
And they're just bouncing around everywhere. So they didn't have any time to settle down. So if you want a real big celebration with lots of bubbles,
There, this
Prosecco
range
is your
of
friend.
Prosecco, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that is true, yeah. It can taste the undernotes of different, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
A little peachy even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, so Prosecco too is, we see it a lot at brunch when people
Absolutely.
do mimosas and stuff, they might do the Prosecco. But really good any time, right? With
Anytime.
that.
So I really like Prosecco so we're going to make a couple of cocktails
Yes,
after this.
yeah, we are,
towards the end, so
absolutely.
don't go anywhere.
No, that's going to be fun.
So Prosecco is my favorite mixing sparkling wine, if you will, because
Okay.
it gives that nice fruitiness to it.
Okay, so we'll have some ideas on that.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
All right. So.
And, right, so now we're going to go on. We're still going to move on, right?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
don't know if you want to do the food pairings or.
Sure.
Okay.
Let's do a little food pairing because it's the summertime, right? So we're
Right.
going to have people over, or we're going to go over to other people's houses with either our food or our sparklers.
Actually, that'd be great to have both then,
Yeah.
right? If you know what pairs well. It's okay, great.
It's an easy
Right.
fix right there. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to focus on these 3 wines,
Okay.
just to make it a little bit more streamlined for you.
Right.
And just give me a second, and I'm
Sure.
going to pour it out for you. So, so us in the wine world, we have been known to be a little irreverent, and one of my favorite classic pairings is champagne and popcorn.
That, to me, that was a surprise. What the popcorn, that was a surprise. Tell me why that would be good. Tell me why. What is the pairing?
The bubbles and the toastiness just do so well. Popcorn doesn't have a whole lot of flavor to it.
No.
So you're not really competing against the champagne.
So it's just
you know?
Yeah.
And if anyone of my friends ever goes through a breakup, this is so much more enjoyable than a tub of ice cream.
Okay, that's a good point too.
So the saltiness as well from the popcorn is nicely counteracted by the acidity of the champagne.
Right.
So together, I mean, did
That
you try it?
I did try it.
It's pretty good, right?
It's very good. Yes, I did. I never would have thought of that.
Yeah.
Never would have thought of that.
So
Movie night with the ladies or
exactly,
yeah. Excellent.
exactly.
Good idea. So that was just popcorn and champagne.
Popcorn and champagne. So I wanted to also bring in a couple of other glasses because
okay.
most of the time people are always drinking out of these flutes, which is great, right?
Right.
It's the classic way that we've decided to serve champagne. It's very classy. It's very beautiful.
And do we have this to hold the bubbles? Why
It's smaller, right? Exactly.
Right.
So the bubbles
bubbles.
can't dissipate
Okay.
as quickly,
Right.
But if you are more interested in what the wine actually smells like, if you're trying to analyze it, it's just so much easier if you pour it into a regular sized glass. And then what happens there is that you have so much more surface to wine ratio, right?
Do you lose more bubbles with the bigger glass? I mean,
A little
matter.
bit. So you pour yourself less, you know?
It's so different because I keep thinking this is either
Yeah.
a white wine glass.
Right.
But, all right.
So if you're trying to really find out what the wine tastes
Yeah.
like, or smells like rather, you can stick your whole nose in there.
Yeah.
And you can get the little peachy note to
And the
it.
peachy definitely with this.
And
Now this
yeah.
is a rosé prosecco.
It is a rosé prosecco.
Yeah, right. So different grapes, so they leave the grapes in longer.
Okay,
or-
so it's a regulated thing, so it has the DOC's label of approval right here. It was just created, the DOC was created in 2020, so super
Right, yeah.
recently.
What does DOC
Yeah.
stand for?
It means I'm going to butcher this. Domination Original Controlada. It basically means
Something
it's
official.
from here
Yeah.
and it's controlled to be delicious.
Okay.
So-
Can't beat that one.
Not at all, right? So yeah, okay, 85% Glera, which is the same grape variety that they use in Prosecco,
Okay.
with 15% Pinot Noir. They call it Pinot Nero,
And that gives the.
and that's what gives it the color.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So here we
And
are.
we could pair
So
this with something.
we should. Let's
Okay.
pair it with some seafood.
Seafood. So we have some seafood.
Oh, perfect, perfect.
Yeah.
So rosé, like shrimp, isn't really sweet. Neither of them are really sweet.
Right.
But they have this sweet vibe, if you will. You know, it kind of gives you the impression of sweetness. So I just
Would
love
you do
them together.
any seafood then with the rosé? Like
You
if I
really
did
could.
Salmon,
And then
yeah,
you could
I
also-
shouldn't have dipped it.
Oh, you could do salmon. You could do crab cakes. You could do even a caprese salad would be delicious.
Oh, yeah.
Anything with like a hint of sweetness, I think really helps the wine shine. So,
Oh,
yeah.
thank you. Oh, very nice with that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Refreshing.
Very nice. I personally like the rosé Prosecco.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do think the color adds to the festivity
Mm-hmm.
as well as the flavor. It's a lot of fun. It's so great because with our, holidays coming up in the summer, Memorial Day and 4th of July,
Yeah.
think about all the celebrations.
Yeah.
That's very good.
I just heard this new term, Maycember, which apparently there's a lot of things that happen in the month of May. There's Cinco de Mayo, there's
yeah?
the Derby, there's Memorial Day, there's Mother's Day.
So they put that and they call it what?
Maycember, because you're as
Maycember.
busy in May as you are in December.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, well, it has been busy.
Yeah.
But this is really neat to see.
Yeah. Okay, so for the last little wine style here, I'll take care of that if you'd
Okay,
like.
thank you.
So I'm going to use a big glass again because I want you to taste all of the complexities of this. So this is a wine called Lambrusco.
Why is this with sparkling wine?
Yeah,
Why?
so this is a sparkling wine that was created quite some time ago. It wasn't sparkling until recently.
I
because
was going to say, I didn't think
Exactly, they wouldn't have been able to do that. But this comes from a region called Emilia-Romagna, which is what they say the best food in Italy comes from. I'm sure all other places of Italy disagree with them.
I was going to say the same thing. They all say the same thing. So what region of Italy is it then?
So this is Emilia-Romagna, which is right there. If you want to think of Italy, usually they call it a boot, right? So there's
right.
the long part.
Yeah.
But if you want to say Italy has shoulders,
Yeah.
it's basically the sternum.
Oh,
It's in the middle, right there.
Right in the middle.
It's where a Ferrari comes from, the
Oh,
car.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we can eat those.
Yeah.
But it also is where salami comes from.
And so,
So
speaking of,
here we are.
we have some aged salami and some
Yes,
cheese that would
beautiful.
go with the Lambrusco.
Yeah, so Lambrusco is on a range. It can be very sweet to a little bit on the drier side. So I found something in the middle. As you can see, it's a red grape variety, so it has a little bit of a tannin thing going on, but not too intense. If you didn't want to go with the salami, you could always do burgers. I was thinking, on the grill, right?
On the grill, right? Out there with your Lambrusco. For some reason, I always think of the red wine as with pastas and sauce.
Mm-hmm.
But you're saying this, I could imagine a salad there.
Absolutely. Sausage and a little bit of fennel go a long way with this.
So semi-sparkling.
So semi-sparkling, yeah.
What would that mean?
So it means that it's, as you can see, the bubbles aren't really that aggressive.
Pronounced, right?
And the other thing I wanted to, so that's basically what semi-sparkling is. And the other thing I wanted to say is that if you look on the back, there's a alcohol level right there, and that's only 9.5% alcohol. So most Proseccos and Champagnes are going to be 11 or 12%, okay?
Okay.
So when you have a lower alcohol, you're having a little bit more sweetness left over. And so that's how you can figure out yourself if a wine is sweet or dry.
So lower alcohol, higher sweetness then? So
Yeah.
I'm thinking of a Moscato.
Yes,
So that would be very low alcohol?
about 5%.
5%? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting to know. Okay.
Let's try it, see how you like it.
Yeah. Oh, very good. So tell me about, you said just recently they made it sparkling. Like what
Well,
do you mean?
because they didn't have the technology
Okay,
before that, Isn't that delicious?
it was very good.
Even though
And the salami, yeah.
even though it's not totally dry, it almost tastes like it's dry. It doesn't have too much.
It's not too sweet.
Doesn't have too much sweetness left
No.
over. So don't be afraid of wines that are, can be a little sweet because.
But
when you
it
actually-
really doesn't taste sweet.
It doesn't taste
Because
sweet
when
at
I said
all.
Moscato, I know Moscato is really sweet.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is very good. And with burgers,
With burgers,
Burgers
would be
and-
great. Anything that I feel has like a grill, a flame broil
Yeah.
situation, go
this would
great
be
with
great
this.
with the
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna remember.
Yeah.
That'll be good for the weekend.
I'm so glad we're doing this.
Me too, I think it's perfect
right
timing.
as summer is about to kick
Absolutely.
off. Yeah.
These were wonderful to learn more about the sparkling, the champagne and the sparkling wines.
Yeah.
And then you were going to do some cocktails.
I was, yeah, because so I wish that champagne was for everybody, and I wish that everyone You know, and it can be. We could just pop a bottle and go for it because there's nothing wrong with it. But just to be a little fancier, I decided that we should make a couple of cocktails. So the first one I'm making for you is is inspired by a punch. And what it is called a champagne cocktail. And what I'm doing right here is I'm putting a little bit of lemon on the rim.
And these glasses remind me of my grandmother's glasses.
They're called a coupe.
A coupe.
Yeah.
And you just don't see them anymore.
Not as much, but
not as much, 'cause I wonder why they changed. I mean, so drastic from that to this. With champagne.
Right. Yeah. So
this is what type.
So we're going to do a champagne cocktail. I actually don't need to put that much
Okay.
sugar on the end because what this is a personal cocktail. So we were talking earlier how champagne wouldn't have ever been really created or enjoyed if it wasn't for the invention of the bottle. This champagne cocktail has a very funny history, and that is that us good old Americans, we would make this punch, and it was created originally in a trough. So an actual like horse trough. They put in gallons and gallons of rum and pineapple juice and all of this champagne that they brought. And there's a story that the reason why Savannah was not burned to the ground back in the Civil War was because one of the generals had too much punch the day before.
So they actually called it a punch, like a punch.
They call it a punch, right?
And we did put a sugar cube in.
We put a sugar cube in there because we're being very, just
authentic
and discreet because we are not shoveling it out of a trough anymore.
No, we're not doing that anymore.
We're making it a personal, beautiful drink.
And the glasses remind me of way back when, like in the 30s and the 20s, and so it seems like that the champagne cocktail.
Absolutely. So think of Great Gatsby.
Sure.
Those times. So then this is bitters, and this is a, I'm not sure it's as relevant now, but back then things were not always as delicious as they could be. And so you needed a little bit of help along the way. And so bitters kind of mask, things that aren't that delicious. But for me, in this modern era, I love bitters because it takes it away from being too sweet and it gives it a little bit more complexity.
What would you say the flavor of bitters is?
It is a combination of barks. So I would say like cinnamon, orange peel.
Now I noticed you're using Prosecco for this, or the cava.
The cava. I'm using the cava for this because it has the sugar cube in it, and I like a little bit less of a sweet sparkling wine to use with that because you're adding the sugar to it. And I guess I could have used Prosecco, but I figured the cava would be better.
That sounds great.
And because I am a devotee of wine, I won't mix champagne with anything but oysters.
Oh,
I'm kidding. You know what I mean. Just keep your champagne on its own, and if you want to mix, use a cava or a prosecco.
So, and you can see that sugar cube really
Isn't it?
dissolve quick.
It's so fun, yeah. So as the evening progresses, you'll get a little bit more sweetness to, please you.
Yeah,
So,
that's right. Well, thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. There you go. Oh, that's got great flavor. Now, would that be a dessert? At the end of the meal?
If you wanted to, but I would say at the beginning of the meal.
Beginning of the meal instead.
Yeah.
Right.
So
because you have the bitter flavor.
The bitters, but to your point, the bitters could help you digest, but it could also be a digestive, if you will. So.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
So that's the champagne cocktail, just the sugar cube, the bitters, and either the cava or champagne. And you think in the beginning of the meal.
I do.
Yeah, good.
I do. Another drink that I really like is...
This is fun.
Yeah. Like I said, might as well, when we're having friends and family over, any time to celebrate is always a good time, isn't it?
It is.
So I'm using a little bit of elderflower liqueur, which has become quite popular recently, and you'll see why. once we add a little bit of our...
What is the flavor of that?
So the flavor is very floral and
Yeah.
interesting. So here, we'll put this
Yeah.
over here. And then just for fun, we're going to make it into a rosé style. So I was...
So it's elderberry
elderberry, yeah.
and your rosé prosecco.
Yeah. So there you are. And then I'm just going to fill it all the way up to pretend that we are...
We're just pretending.
We are just pretending.
Yeah, we have the
may or may not drink these
go.
afterwards.
Yeah, no. We have the rest of the day to go.
But the reason why I'm filling it up as well is because the elderflower syrup is a little bit sweet.
Oh, I see.
And so you want to dilute it a little bit like that.
It's interesting, that type of flavor, because I think there was, I don't remember the name of the cocktail I made, but I remember I had to get one of those, a bottle of that. And then I didn't use it again,
Exactly.
but you need it for that. Oh, see how pretty that looks with the blueberries.
So
Did you
it's a
pick
little-
blueberries for a reason, or just because it's the
Because
season?
of the summer being America's time.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
Memorial Day, it's 4th of July, red,
Oh,
white, and
yeah,
blue,
look at
if you will.
Yeah,
So,
that's so cute. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, that looks adorable. You definitely get the flavor of the elderberry.
Yeah.
Now, does the elderberry have any alcohol in it, or is it just a flavor?
It does. It does
So you
have
have
it's a
to watch that
liqueur.
too. It's a
Yeah.
liqueur, okay.
So it's not child friendly.
No.
But that's
And
okay.
I wonder if people would just, so it's a liqueur, if people just have that.
You could have that, but it's a
Yeah.
little sweet.
That's
so
really sweet, yeah.
and so though I am a stickler for, very traditional glassware, when you're going into cocktails,
Yeah.
let's just have some fun.
I know.
You
that's- So, I'm really excited to see that, because I do have an eclectic mix of glasses myself. So it's nice to see that. It doesn't, even when we go back to this Lambrusco, with the sparkling wine with the big glass, it's really good to see you can use what you have, which is important.
So the last cocktail I'm going to make for you is again a little bit of a red, white, and blue. So what I did is I got a strawberry, cut it in half, and then I cut it in half one more time like that. I'm not all the way through, so that you can put it on your glass rim. You just do a little twirl, and then you're wetting your rim.
And you're doing the sugar
your
again.
Sugar.
Dipping in sugar, okay.
Exactly.
You got your white.
Do you want to have a go? Here you
I
go.
do.
There you are.
All right,
Here's
okay.
yours. And then I'm going to put a little blueberry syrup. You could put creme de cassis. This is a play on a Pure Royale, if you will.
Okay.
But blueberries are from Maine, right? And Maine is a New England state, so I wanted to pay homage. Just put a little
So
bit.
this is just a blueberry.
This is just a blueberry with sugar. And the only cheat I did here is I put in a couple of lemon peels, because what happens is there's a little color change that happens.
Okay.
And it makes it a little bit more purple than would be like a little grayish blue.
Right, okay.
So
So you made that yourself?
I did.
Wow, I'm
So
impressed
just
with that.
sugar, blueberries, and water, and then a couple of lemon peels. So we're gonna go with Prosecco here, because we're going to do a fruity drink. So the Prosecco will be nice. If you want to, you could
Oh, look at
you
that.
could stop it right there, and then you can stir it around to incorporate
Oh,
all
yeah,
that nice
interesting.
color there.
There's no sugar in the blueberry.
There is a little
Sugar.
bit in sugar in the blueberry syrup, yeah. So there you are there.
That is so again, any special time of the meal, you'd have this.
I would start with
You'd
this.
start with this.
I would start with
This looks so festive.
yeah.
If you can, I'm just holding it up a bit too.
Sure, and then if you want to just garnish your
Yeah, put my strawberry up. So it would look like this, and you still have a little bit of the blueberry down below. That is adorable.
And I made
course, I love the
a
glasses,
mocktail of this last night for my kids. They wanted in on the fun. I am in trouble when I get older. I know that for my kids.
They're going to know all about cocktails.
They're going to know all about cocktails.
But
you know.
did you just use seltzer?
I used lemonade.
Lemonade.
Yeah, so I made them a
that's a great
blueberry
idea.
lemonade. And because you can't forget about the little
I know,
ones,
I
you
know.
know, they deserve to have some
they'll
fun
feel
too.
festive too.
They do,
Right.
they do.
Well, this looks beautiful.
And
Look at that.
there we are, Mary.
All right, well, thank you, Tanya.
So
Cheers.
thank you all so
Thank you.
much.
Oh, yeah. Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So if I didn't make my own blueberry syrup,
You
would
could.
you be able to find it?
There are a couple of places where you could find it.
You could
yeah,
find it,
there are
okay.
some liqueurs now that are blueberry forward,
Okay.
or you could always use something called Chambord. Is a,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we know Chambord. So
yeah,
use
so you
Chambord
could
in
make
that.
it like
Okay.
a Kir Royale.
All right. And
Yeah.
that would be good. No, that is wonderful. And I noticed you brought I just wanted to stop.
Oh.
Get the 2 little bottles. Because
Yes.
that's important with people
course.
traveling and.
So these are, they're called 187s, if you will. That's the serving size.
Yeah.
So this is a 750. This is a standard bottle of wine,
Yeah.
if you will. So this is approximately 5 standard glasses. This is a 375. So this is 2.5 standard glasses, if you will. So this
Okay.
is perfect for just 2 people to
2 people
split.
for dinner, sure.
And then this is a single size serving, so that's 187
And that's a
milliliters.
single, yeah.
And so this I put in my beer cooler. You know, if you're going to the beach or you're going
Right.
out.
That's why I'm glad you brought that, because
Yeah.
it is that time of year where people want to grab things and just go.
Yeah.
And this would be perfect,
Yeah,
for an individual person, yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, Tanya, this was amazing.
Thank you, Mary,
Thank
so
you.
much.
I love to start the season off this way.
Yeah.
And I appreciate all your help with everything.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in. If you have any feedback or comments, please see my email, surethingsct@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Till next time, take care.